Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland out today. I am actually out today, and we are pre-recording this, and I am in a virtual studio, so if it looks a little bit strange, don't get too thrown off by this. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the program senior writer from Slate, Mark Joseph Stern. Mark, you also have the co-host a podcast, and it's a legal term. I can't remember what it is.
Amicus. Yes, the right, Amicus podcast with Dahlia Lithwick. I'm the co-host.
I went to law school for a year, and then I did everything I could to get every legal term out of my head. 30 years later, I've finally succeeded. All right, let's go through. There's a bunch of cases that are going on these days, and then I want you, if you could, to preview what we can expect. This time of year is sort of like your Christmas or Hanukkah, I guess, where you've got this sort of bevy of cases that just keep rolling out over the next couple of weeks. But let's start with the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case briefly. He's been brought back to the United States from CCOT, which is sort of the primary demand I think that people had was due process for this guy. But they brought him back and then all of a sudden came up with a whole new raft of charges that he was supposedly they were charging him with. Obviously, we don't know the details of that case yet, but what's your sense of it?
I think it's very fishy. I think there's a good reason to be skeptical that many of these allegations against Abrego Garcia are true. I think it's pretty clear that the Trump administration cooked them up in an effort to save face, to comply with the court's orders to bring back Abrego Garcia, but to do so on Trump's own terms and to ensure that he would immediately be placed in criminal custody. So federal prosecutors have alleged that Abrego Garcia was part of this human smuggling scheme, that he was bringing undocumented migrants from Texas up through Tennessee to Maryland. They have indicted him in Tennessee, where he was pulled over during a traffic stop in 2022. The charges stem from that stop. They claim that he was carrying undocumented immigrants and smuggling them unlawfully. He said at the time that they were his fellow construction workers and that they were driving to a construction site. We know that he is a construction worker. It is a very plausible story. At the time, the federal government actually stepped in and worked with Tennessee authorities to decide whether or not to hold him and his passengers and let him go, and said, we don't find evidence that we need to hold him or detain him at this time. And so, 3 years ago, the federal government had no serious issue with this. But now that the Trump administration is looking for a way to save face, they have revisited that episode and claimed that it is evidence of some kind of massive human smuggling scheme. I don't want to get into the details, but the new allegations in the indictment don't match up with the report that DHS filed at the time. There are discrepancies. There are exaggerations. It really looks like the Trump administration is maybe scraping the bottom of the barrel to try to further smear Abrego Garcia's reputation rather than fully comply with what the courts ordered, which was true due process and not just saddling him with even more legal problems than he already had.
And we should also say, my understanding is that the U.S. attorney in Nashville, when they brought these cases, resigned rather than to pursue these charges, which is not a good sign. Prosecutors don't generally behave that way if there's any semblance of a case.
Right. So a top federal prosecutor in that office, according to ABC News, resigned rather than work on the case because he felt that Abrego Garcia was being politically persecuted and that the Trump administration was basically cooking up these charges just to find some reason to prosecute Abrego Garcia. I mean, this is the quintessential abuse of prosecutorial discretion, right? Starting with the man, then picking the crime. The Supreme Court has warned against this time and time again. If you pick any one person, you can almost always cook up some criminal allegations against them. I'm sure if the government spent enough time, it could find some reason to indict you or me. Even Neil Gorsuch, no flaming liberal, has talked about this issue. And so I fear that the administration is successfully smearing this guy's name. People don't understand that an indictment means very little. Famously, you could indict a ham sandwich, and we need to wait until the federal prosecutors actually show us real evidence before drawing any conclusions here.
Yeah, my bet is in 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, this sort of quietly goes away. And I mean, honestly, like that, they just move on to another thing. And the nature of our news cycles is such that nobody's going to be talking about this case in 4 or 5 months. And if he is set free or ends up, found not guilty of these charges, or they drop him, the Trump administration is going to be on to persecuting somebody else by that point. Many people, maybe.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.